Will Tua Tagovailoa declare for the NFL draft following his junior season, or will he return for a senior season at Alabama? That is the question the world of college football is craving to know. Today, we are going to provide some analysis on these two options and give our final take on the situation. Let's start with Tua Tagovailoa's hip injury he suffered against Mississippi State back on November 16th. The injury occurred when Tagovailoa was flushed out of the pocket and two Mississippi State defenders tackled Tagovailoa on the play. Tagovailoa dislocated his hip, broke his back wall of his hip socket, and also broke his nose. Once the nation heard a broken hip socket, the worst was feared, as many people were quick to jump to the conclusion that Tagovailoa would suffer a vascular necrosis. Basically, the bone tissue around the area would die because of lack of blood flow, and it would end Tagovailoa's playing career, similar to what happened to NFL great Bo Jackson. What was different about this injury was the fact that the doctors were quickly able to reset the hip in place, and Tagovailoa was flown to Houston, Texas to have surgery 2 days following the injury. And Dr. Chip Rout of the University of Texas Health and Science Center, who actually performed the surgery, along with Dr. Lyle Kane, who played a major role in the immediate assessment of the injury, both stated that Tagovailoa is expected to make a full recovery. Now let's talk about the road to recovery and key dates to know. Tagovailoa, of course, has the option to return for a senior season at Alabama as he's a true junior. A lot of this upcoming decision likely depends on the rehab and the pending medical evaluations. From what we gather, the first 6 weeks of the rehab process should be limited activity and rest. With a hip fracture, it's like any other bone that breaks. Time and rest is the best course of action. So after tests and evaluations are done following those 6 weeks to make sure the hip is making a full recovery, he can then start football activities. So you're looking at Tagovailoa throwing again at some point during the month of March. These are key dates to know going forward. The deadline for current juniors and redshirt sophomores to declare for the NFL draft is 4 days following their final game of the season. As of right now, Alabama does not know if they're going to the playoffs or to a bowl game, but we can narrow down those dates. The national championship is January 13th of 2020. The playoff games are scheduled for the 28th of December. The Sugar Bowl is January 1st, and the Orange Bowl is on December 30th. That should give Tagovailoa and his counsel enough time to gauge 1, the recovery process, and 2, have a better understanding of his NFL draft placement. The NFL scouting combine is February 23rd until March 2nd, and while it's highly unlikely that Tagovailoa participates in the scouting combine, he could have a private workout with NFL teams or attend Alabama's Pro Day, which is usually a week following the NFL scouting combine. So as you can see, there is plenty of time for Tagovailoa to be seen by NFL GMs, scouts, and coaches before the NFL draft, which is on April 23rd. Now know this, Tagovailoa is still projected as a first-round draft pick. While teams are no longer tanking for Tua, there is still a ton of optimism that he'll be taken in the first round. Tagovailoa is no longer a top 5 pick, but NFL draft experts have him going as early as number 10 or as late as number 25, and probably playing under a veteran quarterback while he can get fully healthy to improve on his skill set. As long as there is no setbacks on his recovery and Tagovailoa can still demonstrate his rocket of an arm with some decent mobility in the spring, it's hard to imagine that Tagovailoa leaves millions of dollars on the table. One scenario is that Tagovailoa does return for a senior season at Alabama. This really doesn't make sense, as we explained. He'd be giving up millions of dollars from the 2020 NFL draft, and who's to say that another injury doesn't occur during the 2020 season? Since being at Alabama, Tagovailoa has broke his index finger, which required surgery, suffered separate knee and quad injuries, underwent the tightrope surgery to both of his ankles, and most recently, he dislocated his hip, broke the back wall of his hip socket, and broke his nose. There is zero reason to risk losing millions of dollars playing at the college level when players get paid zero. Tagovailoa has proven time and time again that he has the ability to play on Sundays, throwing for 7,442 yards and 87 touchdowns at Alabama. But maybe the bigger question going forward is, can he stay healthy in the NFL? Hey, we want to hear from you in the comment box. Do you think Tagovailoa should return for a senior season at Alabama, or do you think he should head to the NFL in the 2020 draft, or is there another scenario that we're not thinking about that you could add in the comment box? Hey, thanks for watching. Please be sure to like and subscribe. Catch more of our coverage on BamaInsider.com.